Guns. Used for sport and for protection. Used for us and used against us. Without a doubt, in the wrong hands, a gun is a weapon and can cause much destruction. But in the right hands, it's used to keep us safe and can be a fun recreational sport. So are all these restrictions necessary? The current gun laws in Australia make it particularly difficult for the public to access and own firearms, with the only exceptions being people whose occupations are in law enforcement, high-level security, and military, as it's necessary equipment. Today, my crew and I are going to interview two guests to determine how reasonable the Australian gun regulations are. Both possess a history with firearms and can hopefully provide an insight as to whether we are safer because of our gun laws. Our first guest is recreational shooter Will Gibson. As a local Australian, we're going to hear his insights on the reasonableness of Australian gun laws.
So, Will, when did you first start shooting?
9 years ago.
9 years
When
ago?
I was 15, I believe. Yeah, 15.
Okay. What got you into the sport?
Family friend. They were in the rifle making industry, and his kid was friends with my brother.
Okay.
And my dad's always been into it a little bit, and so I just decided to get my miner's license, and found it really fun.
Okay. Now, do you find the laws too strict on what kind of weapons you can own?
No, I'm very happy with the laws we have here.
Okay. Do you compete in any tournaments?
No.
Or is it purely recreational?
I'm not good enough. So yeah, just recreational.
Okay. So it's just recreational shooting, and you think the laws are perfectly fine the way they are?
They're exactly how they should be.
Okay. Now, have you been shooting anywhere else in the world?
Yes, many places.
Okay.
Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia, and America as well.
Okay. Do you know anybody that's been killed with
No.
gun violence? No? Okay. So
Not even
you'd
a
say
little.
the laws are
Yeah.
pretty good at
Effective.
restricting that?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel safer because of Australia's gun laws?
In regards to gun violence?
In regards to gun violence?
Absolutely. I haven't really ever been worried about any gun violence around me or anyone I know.
Okay.
Exactly. You're trained to respect the weapon.
The weapon, yeah.
Will feels that the Australian regulations on firearms are justified and they should remain as they are. He believes that due to our gun laws, he never has to worry about gun violence in Australia. But does everyone share this opinion? Our next guest is recreational shooter and former English military, Simon Edmondson. Simon served in the military in his early life, gaining much experience with firearms. He has since settled in Australia and retains his expertise by shooting recreationally. Today we hear his thoughts on Australian gun laws. So Simon, what is your history with firearms?
From about 12 years old, I began to shoot 10-metre indoor air rifle, and then from 17 I joined the British Army as a boy soldier, where we shot 5.56, which is the standard NATO round.
And how long were you in the army for?
Just for 2 years.
So what is your opinion after your experience in the army about the gun regulations and licensing in Australia?
In Australia, it's quite easy to obtain a firearms certificate in Australia. Relatively rigorous, although some people could slip through the cracks.
So do you think Australia would benefit from more accessible firearms like you'd see in the US or some other countries?
I think they would do in terms of handguns, but particularly for females. What you never get to hear about on the news or in the newspapers are how many times a firearm saves a life, how many times a firearm stops a rape or a potential assault or a home invasion, and that's what people should be focusing on a little bit more, I think.
So do you feel safer in Australia because of our gun laws?
No, because the criminal element or anybody that's intent on some kind of criminal activity can obtain it from anywhere they like without the laws. Only law-abiding people obey the law, and criminals, by their very nature, do not abide the law.
That's very true. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Simon believes that guns are necessary and that the restrictions on their access are in fact negatively affecting our safety, going on to say that guns are required to protect ourselves, that greater access will allow the public to better prevent themselves from being victims to crimes. This greatly contrasts to the response of Will Gibson, who stated that guns are weapons, the laws should stay as they are, and that he feels safer because of them. Both have extensive knowledge and experience with firearms, But who has the greater perspective? Who is correct? Who do you agree with? Do our gun laws make you feel safer?